Hello and welcome to Rolling With Reviews. I'm Will, and with me,
Sarah.
And today we're looking at Paper Dungeon. Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit about the game?
Alright, Paper Dungeons is a roll and write RPG-like game set in a fantasy world. So Will...
Why did we get the game?
Yes, why did we get the game?
We have to blame Suzanne.
Yes, in a very good way. I listen to the Dice Tower podcast quite a bit, and I love listening to her and Mandy talk. And Suzanne loves roll and writes, as I do as well. So I always pay close attention when she starts talking about a brand new roll and write game that I have never heard of before, and this was one of those cases. And as she explained the game, it was just ticking off every single box of things that I love. And I knew Will liked roll and writes, and we both love RPG experiences, so I told him about it, and well, now it's on our table.
Yeah, speaking of likes, that is what I like, is the meaty dice roll and write game that this thing provides. Mm-hmm. You roll some dice, you can't have all the choices even though you want to, and yes. I completely forgot about that the second time, but I was restricted and it was very upsetting. Anyway, I picked out what I wanted to do, and I felt like everything I did had some sort of impact on what my score was going to be, and that is something fantastic to have in a roll and write game. What did this do for you as terms of likes?
Well, I actually really like the RPG Lite experience. I mean, everything Will said is I'm totally on board. I love meaty roll and writes. This, again, checks every box, and literally there are lots of boxes in this game. So I really enjoy that aspect. I also enjoy what this represents in terms of the theme. It works for me. Now, I'm going to say it's extremely light. I mean, it's paper thin, as you are, writing on paper. But it works for me. You're leveling up your characters. You are crafting, artifacts and collecting potions, and you're going through the dungeon and beating up monsters and taking their treasure, and you're trying to beat up the big baddie bosses for whatever little reason. And it is very thin, but you get a dungeon card which has a story, and you can play through a campaign if you played the cards in, I keep wanting to say numerical order, but alphabetical order.
Alphanumeric order?
Well, there's no numbers.
Well, I can number them if I want to.
That's true. Anyways, you can get a story that plays out over 12 cards, but I will say that it is not going to give an extremely heavy RPG experience. In fact,
that is kind of where I get to the dislikes. For me, that light might not have even been there, because all the types of experience I look for in a good adventure game, this doesn't have. Because it's so busy giving you such a great dice rolling game, it forgets about the adventure side of things. For example, when I go into an adventure, I'm looking for exploration, things I don't know, what's around the corner. I look at the map and I see everything. I know where all the monsters are, so that's not there. All right, well, when I get into battle, it's going to be a hair-raising experience, and I might just get out by the skin of my teeth. You compare numbers and just do something with that. It doesn't even matter if you die. Okay, so I'm surviving the dungeon. That's great. That's good to hear, at least.
No player elimination.
Yeah, no player elimination. And then we get to the power, the power fantasy that's in an adventure. I am the most epic hero that this land has ever seen, are written down to pen and paper. And no, I don't feel that at all. At the beginning of the game, you get goal cards. And the goal cards have criteria that you're trying to reach. And if you reach them, you get points. So a lot of times, I feel I can barely do that and maybe meet the bosses. So I'm feeling very, very underpowered when it comes to when you put everything together. I don't feel powerful. I feel like I'm a farmer who accidentally found the dungeon and was told what to do by a party of adventurers, and am barely struggling to do that.
Yeah, I will have to say, the gold cards and the thing that gives you an extra power at the beginning of the game, they don't feel balanced, and you could get the perfect combination that really helps you. For example, and I feel like I got one of those perfect combinations. I got an item that let me take prevented damage from traps. Well, my goal card was to walk through walls, cross over rivers, or walk through traps 12 times. Well, this made it easy for me to go through the rooms with traps because I wasn't taking damage. I didn't have to deal with that aspect of what makes a trap a trap. And so that was a really easy combo. There's other ones that were like, now I can't remember, like go through so many rooms or...
Yeah, go through so many rows.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really weird because that's a lot of rows. That's like 21 spaces. And you're lucky if one or two bosses are within 3 rows of each other.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to fight the other boss, then you're just giving up on those points. So how does that even work?
Right. So I don't feel that those are they're not very balanced. And I think for me, what I really didn't like was the hit point track.
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand. This is where it broke the narrative for me. Because as you take damage, which of course you're going to do in a normal course of an adventure, but in this game you lose victory points. I have yet to play an RPG where I'm losing points or something to that effect just by not being able to block a hit. I mean, yes, I know there are RPGs out there that if you take too much damage, maybe you lose use of your arm or a leg, or you get some sort of handicap. I guess I can understand that. But short of, and even here, if you completely die, you're just losing a ton of victory points, which again is almost kind of telling me you really shouldn't be playing this game. And I guess for me, I don't like those kind of negative loops that are discouraging to making progress through the game. And it, to me, feels like all it's there is to make sure you get potions. Like to make potions useful. That's why you're taking damage so that potions are actually used for something.
Yeah, because if you actually get right down to the narrative, and for it to make any sort of sense, it's a comedy skit. I mean, it's the elder that's I'm the elder of town of village, and we got you to go to the dungeon, and you've come back and done a wonderful job. And oh my, are you hurt? Oh, that's not gonna go good for you. That's gonna go down on your taxes. Like, I pay taxes for the what?
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And honestly, with the amount of stuff that's going on in this game, not having the hit point track would be perfectly fine. I mean, yes, I can see it's tied into other aspects, so it's not like something you could just house rule and ignore. But it doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense the way that it's structured here. But I can also see that they did it so that when you fight a regular minion in there, losing to it doesn't stop you from playing the game, because that would be the worst thing, would be player elimination in this game. So I understand its purpose, but it's there for the mechanical sake of the mechanical sake of doing something.
Yes.
You know, it's not fully tied into the thematics. It's more of, okay, we need these cogs to make these other cogs work. Okay, now we got it to work mechanically, and now we're just going to call it your hit points, and that works because that's thematic.
Yeah, it was the closest analogy I think they could make, a metaphoric excuse for it. And that's close enough.
Right.
And it does work mechanically.
Yes.
It's just thematically, it's kind of flat.
I think my other problem with it is I tended to forget to raise my hit points. So there is a lot to track, which again could be a negative. And there were times where it definitely was a negative for me because I was always forgetting to do something, because each action typically took 2 parts. Like if you want to level up a character, you're not just filling in the box to level up that character, but you also have to add a hit point. Well, there's no reminder on the board because it's this huge thing. There's no room for a reminder that says when you level up a character, gain a hit point. Or like when you fight a monster or like a minion in the dungeon, you are supposed to cross it out on the dungeon. Well, you're also supposed to mark it on the monster track. And in there, every second monster gets you another benefit. Now, I usually love what I call combo-rific roll and write. Fleet the Dice game does this really well for me. But here, I don't know what the disconnect is, and maybe it's because to do one action, you have to do two things, and then you might get a bonus thing on top of that. Maybe that's, and it's two different things. Again, mark a monster here, mark a monster there. Yes, they're both monsters, but it's not in the same location on the sheet. So I found that I was often forgetting to do one thing, doing two things when it's the one thing that I was doing.
Yeah, I feel that is an accessibility thing that we do talk about in our other video, the Rolling with Two for Paper Dungeons.
Right.
So check that one out.
All right.
As far as that goes, we're ready to do our ratings, and the way our ratings work is we each have 1d6 worth of rating to give. 1 is low, 6 is high. We give a number, a reason why, and we add those two up and say what it rolled for us. Sarah, what did Paper Dungeon roll for you?
Paper Dungeons rolled a 5. I do really enjoy this mechanically and thematically. The reason it's pipped down from a 6 is the complexity of it. I mean, yes, I normally love heavy roll and writes, but for whatever reason, the remembering to gain hit points when I level up or cross off this track when I get that thing, just the multiple aspects to each action when there's already so much going on in the game detract, and then just my confusion at the hit point track in terms of how the mechanics worked with the thematics. It's just, yeah, that pipped it down. But obviously I still really enjoy the game, and it is definitely one that I would ask to play.
As for me, I'd give it a 3. The reason being is that this game is trying to sell me on two things. One is a deep roll and write game, which it delivers hands down. I will recommend this for anyone who loves roll and write games that are heavy. That it does a great job on. What it completely fails to do is the adventure side for me. Again, it's just missing all the elements of experience that I'm looking for in an adventure game. So therefore, it only gave me half the game I was hoping for. I still asked to play it because I still love roll and write games. But if you're coming to the table and saying, I've got a great roll and write game and it's an adventure, and the person loves adventures, they're probably going to be a little disappointed.
Yes.
So, yeah, I can only give it a 3. So, together, that gives it an 8 out of 12. Still not bad.
Yes, agreed.
So that will do it for us here with Rolling with Reviews. And if you want to get a hold of us in any way, you can reach out on the social medias at
Rolling with Two, that's TWO, and check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course here on YouTube. Please like and subscribe.
So I've been Will.
And I've been Sarah.
And we've been Rolling with Reviews.